Every year, the world just fills up with the sights and sounds of Christmas. We see the lights, we hear the carols, we exchange gifts. But underneath all that wonderful tradition, there's a story, a really profound idea that's literally shaped history. So let's dig into what that is.
So yeah, what are we truly celebrating here? I mean, if we were to peel back all the layers of tradition and tinsel, what's really at the heart of this whole holiday? Well, let's find out together.
The entire meaning of Christmas, the whole thing, it really hinges on one profound, almost unbelievable concept. It's not just about remembering a historical event. It's about celebrating a core mystery, and that mystery is called the Incarnation.
To put it simply, it's the idea that God became human. The Incarnation is the belief that the eternal, the infinite, became a real, tangible, finite person. And this single idea, this is what gives Christmas all of its theological weight and its incredible meaning.
This famous quote from St. Athanasius, way back in the 4th century, just gets right to the point. The whole purpose of the Incarnation, from this perspective, wasn't just for God to pay a visit. No, it was to fundamentally bridge the massive gap between the divine and the human, to invite all of humanity to share in God's own life. I mean, what a truly radical idea.
So where does the story we all know and love come from? Well, our main sources are actually two different Gospels in the New Testament. And what's interesting is they don't tell the exact same story. Instead, they give us these complementary perspectives on the very same event.
So you've got these two Gospels giving us different sides of the same coin. Luke gives us all the humble, intimate details. The census, no room at the inn, a baby in a manger, and poor shepherds being the very first to hear the news. Matthew, on the other hand, it kind of zooms out. It focuses on majesty and cosmic importance, a star guiding wise men from far away, and the threat felt by a powerful king. When you put them together, you get this complete picture of an event that's both deeply humble and royally significant.
Now, this brings us to a bit of a historical puzzle. If you look in the Bible, it never actually mentions a specific date for Jesus' birth. So, why do we celebrate it on December 25th?
And that is a great question, because that date isn't an accident, not at all. The choice was very deliberate, and it was made by the church back in the 4th century for some really fascinating symbolic reasons.
Okay, so the choice of December 25th was both really strategic and deeply symbolic. First, it lined up with the popular Roman festival for the unconquered sun, which happened around the winter solstice. Early Christians basically reframed it, saying, "You think that's the sun? No, Jesus is the true sun." And second, the timing is just beautiful. Just as the daylight starts to get longer after the longest night of the year, it symbolizes the coming of Christ as the light of the world, who overcomes all darkness.
And you can even see the richness of this celebration in the church's traditions. On Christmas Day itself, there are actually 3 different masses, and each one explores the mystery from a slightly different angle. You have the joy and wonder of the angel's announcement at night, then the dawning of salvation with the shepherd's visit, and finally a deep theological dive into the idea of the Word becoming flesh during the day.
All right, so we've covered the what, the where, and the when. Now let's get to the big one, the why. What are the powerful spiritual themes packed into this story of the Nativity?
This ancient prophecy from Isaiah is so central to the Christmas message. The birth of Jesus is seen as the ultimate fulfillment of this promise, a great light finally breaking into a world filled with darkness, whether you think of that darkness as fear, or ignorance, or suffering. So what kind of light is this? Well, it's a light that shows up in the most unexpected way possible. The story gives us a God who completely rejects power and prestige. Instead, he chooses the total vulnerability of a baby born in an animal's feeding trough. This idea of divine humility, of finding strength in weakness, is honestly one of the most radical messages of the entire story.
And who is this message for? Well, just look at the guest list at the manger. You've got local, poor shepherds right alongside wealthy foreign magi. From the very beginning, the story is screaming that this event is for everyone. It breaks down all the social, economic, and national barriers. It is a message of universal welcome.
And of course, we can't forget the angel's famous proclamation, peace on earth. But this isn't just some gentle holiday sentiment. It's really presented as a mission. It's an invitation for all of us to become instruments of peace in a world that is, and let's be honest, always has been, deeply troubled.
So, you've got this ancient story, this deep theological idea.
why does it still resonate with billions of people around the globe year after year after year? Well, I think it's because it speaks directly to some of our deepest, most human longings.
I mean, think about it. In a world that so often feels uncertain and dark, this story offers hope. In a society where so many people can feel isolated, it tells a story of belonging. At its absolute core, it's a story about a radical kind of love, a God who loves the world so much that he becomes part of it. And finally, it offers the promise of renewal, the chance to start over, which is something I think we all long for. So when we look past all the traditions and the wrapping paper, we find that Christmas is so much more than just a birthday party. It is a celebration of divine nearness. It's about the belief that the transcendent and the ordinary met right there in a manger in Bethlehem and changed the course of human history forever.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to ponder. If this story is true, if the divine can really be found in such a humble, unexpected, and vulnerable place, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where else in our own lives, in our own world, might we be overlooking something just as sacred and profound today?